Matt. Well, we're back with a less eventful sports week than last week. Now we have no football to talk about. And I mean, it's only the NBA going on. So we're getting into our NBA stretch of the season. And we usually will typically pick it up around here anyway, around the All-Star break. Um, but nothing crazy news wise or anything. So why don't we start off with the All-Star weekend, and I will prelude the conversation with saying did not watch the All-Star game, did check in on some of the
Don't think we missed
events.
anything.
But I mean, to be honest, after last year's, All-Star game, there was no incentive for me to watch it. And I think that's a problem, because there was a time, the when they had the Kobe tribute, or even, a little bit before that. Um, at least towards the end of the game, you saw guys competing. But yeah, completely not the case this year. I mean, 200 points scored by the East, and then 180,
186.
plus scored by the West. It just not a good watch. So, well, we'll start off though with the 3-point contest. Dame did defend his throne, went back to back now. He had a good moment with his kids after that. I thought that was like a really nice moment for him. Um, but I mean, overall, at least a 3-point contest, it's kind of, to me, it's almost like a not a home run derby thing, but it's something that guys can still be competitive at, and it's not gonna, well, shouldn't detract too much from their game. I know the home run derby, there's controversy, right? It like will mess up swings or
Yep.
whatever.
People get home run happy, and then in the second half, they just fall off in terms of
Right,
batting average.
right. So I guess it's a little bit different. I like the 3-point contest though, because it still provides a little bit of competition mixed in with the safety I think that the players are looking for when they go out and compete. But I mean, yeah, they all did, pretty good. I think I think the first round they all went over 20 points or something like that. And then there's a tiebreaker. So I mean, yeah, it was pretty
That
good.
was
I
the
would say it
first
was pretty
time I
good.
think I saw like a tiebreaker in the preliminary round because everybody shoots in the first round and then they take the top three and then those guys are in the final round. But there was four guys with 26. So they had a tiebreaker round. I didn't even know that was a thing, honestly, until I saw it because it was like they just have 30 seconds and then they can shoot as many shots as they want, basically, and whoever makes the most wins. But you just have to go in order. Like you start on the in the corner and then you work your way up to the top of the 3-point line. So it was pretty interesting. Guys are kind of rushing through the last couple of shots, I think, just to get them up. But I thought that was cool, but I think the 3-point contest kind of speaks to how the NBA is now. Like, I feel like before, like even you go back to like MJ days, right? It was the 3-point line wasn't really a thing. It was all about, big men or, the dunks, right? The dunk contest was always the main event that kind of sparked that weekend. But now it's times have shifted. Steph Curry came into the league and kind of changed it all. So that's kind of like the new headliner, right? The 3-point contest and with the Dame win, and then obviously we can talk about Steph and Sabrina, right? That was I would say it's a pretty historical moment. I thought it was pretty cool to see two of the best 3-point shooters, contest wise at least, dueling it out. So it was that was good. I like that part at least.
I also yeah, I agree. I think that Steph and Sabrina thing, um, just that type of crossover brings a little bit of publicity to the WNBA, and just it was like a new wrinkle that was
Mm-hmm.
thrown in there, and yeah, it was fun to watch something different. I mean, Sabrina, she's shot from the NBA line, and she had 26 points, which is what all the other guys had,
Mm-hmm.
and what Dame ended up having, right? So I mean, just props to her. I hope they continue to do. Maybe that's like the future. Well, we have a WNBA versus the
NBA shoot
NBA All
off.
Star. No, like just a game. I don't know. That would be kind of nuts.
We gotta get the DeMarcus Cousins Brittany Griner
Yeah.
matchup.
Well, that I don't know if that one's happening. But yeah, I don't know. That would be something interesting. I doubt it'll ever happen. But I don't know. I just think it would be something interesting. At least it would bring in a little bit of viewership, I think. Um, yeah,
I think the
I don't
only
know.
thing that's
That's just
hard
my
about
two.
that is it's like the WNBA is not in season right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how
So
do you
I
know
mean,
like who's an all-star in
yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking out loud there, but yeah, I like the Steph versus Sabrina one. Hope they continue something like that, in the future. Just
Mhm.
continuing to innovate for All Star Weekend because it does need some work. Um, the dunk contest as well, Matt. I don't know. It's getting like a little bit harder to watch now, and I don't know if it's because of the athletes that we have in the NBA or even in the G League now, but I don't know. I feel like maybe even myself, we were so spoiled several years ago with the Levine and Aaron Gordon thing, and now like I think it was Jacob Toppin actually. He had a pretty nice dunk. I feel like it was his second attempt though when he did like a reverse East Bay. Um, 360, like a reverse 360 East Bay or something like that. And I was like, dang, that's like tough to do. And Kenny and Reggie were like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for second. But like, I watch it again in like slow motion. I just like, dang, that's so tough to do, And then I mean, Mac McClung, he's just insanely bouncy.
Mhm.
He's like jumping over Shaq with I thought like easy, didn't even need a touch, Shaq at all.
He's like the white
Or
version of Nate Robinson in
I
the
mean,
dunk contest.
but yeah, but it's like he's clearing guys, and he's
Mhm.
even Jaime Jaquez when he jumped over Shaq, he kind of had to have the little. He didn't like push off, but he did have to like the touch, like had to
Mhm.
touch Shaq's shoulder. But Max just straight grabbed the ball, cleared him, and dunked it. So I thought, I mean, the first dunk though too, with the little release that he had and catch and then dunk. I don't know. That one was also pretty nice. I thought so. Um, I don't know. Just I I don't know if we're being a little bit too harsh. Maybe the judges, I think, were being a little bit too harsh as well. Um, I think the dunk contest is going to stay around for a while, and just hopefully we see some innovation. But um, I
They
just
need the big names to participate, I think. That's the only way that it's going to be revitalized. Like Matt McClung, it's cool, right? He won 2 years in a row, but people like to see it's all-star weekend, right? For a reason. You want to see the all-stars or the big name guys participating in it. So I think that's really the only way that they can revive it at
right,
this point.
and maybe we just don't have Jalen Brown in the dunk contest moving forward as well because he was the biggest name, I think, but
I
probably
mean,
had.
respect to him for that. I mean, he was the biggest name, so props for entering at least.
But it's like all his dunks were just like it didn't have to do anything with the dunks he was doing. It was like the gimmick of all of them, like the Michael Jackson left-handed glove thing, and then he's like paid tribute to Dominique, I think, right? With his with one of them, and then he had another tribute dunk, and then he had the Kai Sena one. Just really unfortunate sequence for him, I think, overall. To have Kai, I mean, Kai is what he's
He's five
honestly.
three.
They said he's what? They said he's 5'3". Okay, so
On
he's
the
five
internet, they
three,
said 5'3", could be
five
shorter. I
three.
don't know.
But you also have him sit down at 5'3" when Mac McClung is out here clearing 7'1" Shaq. The worst part is like when Tatum went out on the court and tossed him the ball the first time, he just straight whiffed or like did right. He didn't even catch the first one, so it's already like okay, well, kind of takes all the air out of it once you miss the first dunk because everyone kind of knows what you're gonna do. So I don't know. I agree. It's probably gonna have to be big names, but what is gonna be the incentive? Maybe it's just a money thing. Like make it $1 million or something, or like $500,000. I didn't think money would motivate these guys, but the play in tournament kind of proved us all wrong, right? We saw how guys were competing when there was, more money on the line. And so I don't know. I just think that, yeah, if it's gonna take $1 million prize or whatever it is to get more of the stars to come and compete, then I think it's a worthwhile investment because I mean I like to watch basketball. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy the all-star stuff. How last year's one was so bad. I purposely made it a point. I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time and watch it because I don't even think it's gonna be entertaining. And I was right. So I think there just needs to be a little bit more of an investment by the all stars and maybe the NBA, like have them work collaboratively with the Players Association, whatever it is, and figure it out because something just has to change. At least they took the step with the Steph and Sabrina thing, but we got to keep pushing that forward. Um, so I don't know, Matt. Maybe do you have any suggestions? Anything from All Star Weekend could be the games. It could be adding a new competition. What do you think?
I think the skills challenge, it's okay. The 3-point challenge is probably the best thing right now. I think they're going to continue with the Steph Sabrina thing. There's going to be some kind of gimmick next year. I don't know if it's a rematch or they do it like a. I heard a lot of rumors like, oh, it's a Sabrina, and if Caitlin Clark turns pro and she turns out to be the real deal, maybe she's involved next year. Like, there's all these things going around, but I think that should continue to kind of build off of the WNBA NBA kind of partnership, you could say. But I think the All Star game needs to change, and I kind of knew like when they said they were gonna go back to the East West format. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be competitive because at least with like the teams, like how they had from previous years where it was like Team LeBron, Team Giannis, whatever. Like they're picking their teams. At least I don't know. There's a wrinkle, right? You got a guy on the Eastern Conference playing with a guy in the Western Conference. There was something different, and then for the most part, maybe not last year, but the games are pretty close. And if it's close at the end, they play hard. I give them that. So I think maybe it's almost like it's like the Pro Bowl now, of the like Pro Bowl in the NFL. Maybe you got to change it. You don't have to play a 5-on-5 game. Like I saw some things 1-on-1 tournament between the All
That
Stars would be
that's what I said
that'll
last
be
year.
pretty
I don't know if you
sick, right?
remember. I talked about that last
Yeah,
year, and I said that if the worry for these guys is
they just don't want to get hurt.
they don't want to get hurt. Okay, so what is more? Is it the length of a full game competing for 4 quarters? If that's the case, let's make it to 21 or something, or East West, right? But even within East West, maybe you split it into four teams total. Two from the East, two from the West. You play like I don't know 21 or something, or you know what I mean. Like you play to a certain point total. Um, Winner moves on and make it have some incentive for that winning group or winning team at the end. I don't know. I'm just trying to like think of what would be like the best way to go about it. But I think there definitely needs to be something. Um, if it's money, like yeah, okay, it might be feel a little tacky for a fan because it's like wow, these rich guys are just gonna get even more money for being an all-star. But there has to be some incentive to motivate these guys to want to play. Um, I don't know what it's gonna take, right? But I don't know. I
I think a non-monetary incentive is maybe. they can take a page out of baseball. They don't do it now, but before, you know how they had the All-Star game, the winner of the All-Star game, American versus National, would
Right.
have home field in the World Series. So could you do something like that? The winner of you do East West again, and then the winner of the All-Star game, that
I still
team
don't
gets home
I still don't
court.
know if I like that though, to be honest. Because thing is, like, you got guys like um, Scotty Barnes was an all-star this year, right? He like we can get to it later. I don't have the Raptors as a finals contender, you know. Um, so it's like what incentive, does a guy like that have to play or want to play and compete? Mm, like there's not much. So I just don't like the fact like one game determining home fielded or home court advantage, especially no matter what it is, uh baseball or basketball, because it does matter so much, I feel like, to a lot of these teams. So to have, a championship home court advantage determined by one all-star game where these guys never played together, would it increase or would it improve the product? Yeah, maybe. But how happy are the players going to be about that, come finals time? I don't know how happy those guys are going to be. So I think unfortunately it's just going to have to be a money thing, you know, give each, if it's $1 million, I would think the NBA could afford to pay, how many All-Stars are on a team, like 12 or something,
Well,
like
plus guys
12
who are injured,
ish,
so
yeah.
12 to
So
15 maybe.
12 to $15 million extra to increase the product, maybe that's worth it. Probably something they're gonna have to figure out, but there just has to be some kind of change. And the other thing, going away from the game, is if the guys don't want to compete because it's in season, or whatever the case may be, maybe just take away the entire game, maybe not the entire game itself, but shorten the game and have some other types of competitions, that don't necessarily hurt the players. But there's got to be some kind of change, because I don't know. I was gonna ask you this though, Matt. Do you think having the All Star game in season also kind of hurts? Um, the product itself, because if you do it almost like a football thing, right, where it's after the regular season, maybe is there a little bit more incentive to guys to want to compete, because if they're in it, their season's over, kind of thing. But
See, I see. I think that would be a problem because you would have the same thing as the Pro Bowl. I think guys would opt out, and then you're gonna have to replace guys like say LeBron James. You think LeBron James is gonna want to play in a exhibition game after a grueling finals run,
right,
say, right? Like I don't think so. So he's gonna opt out, and then this other guy's gonna opt out. Then you're gonna end up having like I don't know, like say D'Angelo Russell is an all-star. Like he's great, he's a good player, but is he an all-star? No, I don't think so. So like I think that would be an NFL product in a say. Like I don't think that would be a good idea. I think you have to have it like a mid-season. Like the timing is okay. I think they just need to tweak something to, like you said, get the players to at least try. So I like one-on-one. I think you even brought it up last year. I
yeah.
think you said they should play horse. Now I think that could be a spicy game, like on an All-Star Saturday night. You
Yeah,
know, I
like
mean,
just
I saw
something like
Luca
that.
doing like a bounce shot. Like, what the heck was that? Like, that was pretty gnarly. And then you can see Steph, maybe Steph Curry enters. He can, you know, see some crazy, full court shots or something. So yeah, something like that would be interesting. But yeah, the game itself, I don't know. I think you're right. It's probably going to be a money thing, but I could also see it like how I said, winner gets NBA Finals home court. But I don't know if you keep the game what other options you would have outside of those two things.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't know. It something is definitely gonna change. I do have faith though in Adam Silver because I think he's proven that he tries to think outside of the
Hmm.
box.
He does.
He listens to the fans, he listens to the players. Um, the in-season tournament, I was skeptical. I think everyone was a little bit curious to see how the product would turn out, but we almost got early playoff basketball type of vibes, guys really competing um and putting in effort in the regular season that early in the season as well. It's kind of almost unheard of, right? So I like, I trust something will get changed or they will attempt to do something different. And that's the thing that I do appreciate that at least they'll try. The Steph versus Sabrina thing, I'm sure they weren't sure how exactly it was going to turn out. I thought it was a good product, but at least the NBA is willing to try, with these things. They listen to their fans, they hear their fans. So I'm sure something will be a little bit different next year. Um, but yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
Matt. Did you have anything else you wanted to do about All Stars?
No, I mean, I just hope that it's more competitive next year. So you guys got a full year to figure that out, starting
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's get in depth with some NBA stuff because now we're coming down that post All Star break stretch where games really start to matter more and more now, especially for the seeding with the play-in tournament fully in effect now. So let's get into the Lakers first because we do like to talk about the Lakers on this show. I'm feeling pretty good, Matt. Um, I really like the stretch of basketball they were playing going into the All Star break. And that seems to kind of be, the recipe for success for when the Lakers have been successful. It's post trade deadline, the past, well, last year, and then kind of when they made that run. Okay, albeit it was in the bubble, but the Lakers were playing really good basketball in the regular season up until that point. But looking back more so to last year, after the whole trade deadline thing, and they kind of figured out how they wanted to play. That team got hot. They went all the way, to the Western Conference Finals. So I still think this is a really good team, and I was very encouraged by how they looked going into the break. Even without LeBron, that last game. I think Rui and AD both had like 35 points combined. D'Lo happy to facilitate. I think he had like 17 assists in that. So just happy that those guys are stepping up and we're kind of finally figuring out what our rotation is going to be. I know we added, Spencer Dinwiddie, but I still think that this we're trending in the right direction, which is giving me a lot of optimism for this second half stretch that they're going to go on. I don't know if you've been keeping up, Matt, with the Lakers, but do you have any thoughts on anything?
Well, I think for the Lakers' sake, I think even LeBron talked about it in the All-Star game in his interview. He said the main thing for them is just be healthy. And it sounds like they want to get, I think they said, what is your goal, for the second half of the season? It sounds like they're trying to get that six seed, a top six seed. But realistically, I'm looking at their standings. They're what, 9.5 back of first, 3.5 back of the Pelicans for six. I mean, they're in striking range, but they gotta jump over a couple teams to do that. So are they really gonna slide that much? I don't know. But I think the Lakers, as long as I think if they get the 7 or the 8 seed, I think that's a good place for them. I mean, they've shown they can succeed in the play-in game. And I think the 7 and 8, it gives you at least you have that buffer, right? You can lose that one game, you still have another chance. But if you're the 9 or the 10, you got to win two in a row to just get into the playoffs. So I think they just need to get somewhere in that seven. If they get to six, that's great. But at least a 7 or an 8 would be good. And AD has to stay on the court. And to his credit, he has done a pretty good job at that this season. So I'll knock on wood for that. I don't want to jinx anything. And even for LeBron's sake, because you need him there too. But health, I think health is the key for the Lakers. And I mean, it's so hard for me because I'm a LeBron guy. But if he's in the playoffs, anytime you have to beat him 4 out of 7 games, that's a tough task to do. And the Nuggets, they went on to win the NBA championship. But that series, yes, it was a sweep last year, but every game was down to the wire. Lakers could have easily swept the Nuggets, honestly, if there was a couple balls that bounced their way. So I think they just got to get in, stay healthy, and like you said, I think they'll be fine. But it'll be interesting to see how Dinwiddie fits in. I haven't really seen him play too much. I know he had one game, 2 games as a Laker so far.
Yeah, not
Hasn't
many.
really had a big game, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe give him a week or two to get acclimated, and then we'll revisit that topic on how that buyout was. But I think yeah, you guys are in a good position. You got to make a run though. Like some kind of 5, 7 game win streak would be pretty nice for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're gonna get a really good indication of how we're gonna look in this first, let's call it mm, I mean 10, if you want, you could say 10 game stretch. It's kind of a lot of games there, but play a lot of good teams right off the jump. And to me, the first game back, they play Golden State at the Warriors arena. It's gonna be a big test because Clay off the bench, maybe that is gonna be his sweet spot at least for the rest of the season. I don't know if it'll continue on past this season, but maybe that's the sweet spot for him. And if he's anything like old Clay, and it's not just Steph, I think they found something good with how they've been using Jonathan Kuminga.
Mhm.
Draymond is back as well to kind of facilitate and as well as bring that defensive presence. This is, the Warriors, yeah, they're the 10 seed, but uh that was a lot, they had a lot of pieces missing. They're still out, or they still don't have Chris Paul, I believe. So this team, they're still not even 100% yet, but this is going to be a big game. I think if the Lakers can show up and win this one, in Oracle, then I don't know. I think that's a good indication for how they can kind of move forward with the second half of the season. So big game on Thursday, um, really for both squads, but I think really just for the Lakers, because it's time for them to start picking it up. Um, so well, I
Even in the standings too, like they're the 9, the Warriors are the 10. I think they're 1.5 games apart. So you don't want to get all the way to 10, after one game out of the All-Star break. So
right.
I think that's a huge gap. I think 2 to 3 games of buffer is a lot better than half a game. Let me tell you that in the NBA. It's hard to make up ground.
Yeah. So big stretch. I mean, coming into the last 6 weeks or so, 6 or 7 weeks or so here. So we'll monitor the Lakers for sure. But since we are do have a chance to kind of preview the second half of the season, Matt, why don't we go through kind of our contenders, who we like, reaching the finals on each side. I was gonna say let's just have it three on each side, the three teams. Um, you can give whatever reasons you want, but
Hmm.
yeah, we'll say
Okay.
three teams from each conference that you feel is a strong contender to make it to the final. So not just, be, be a top seed in the regular season to finish, but really, reach the finals. So I'll let you start first. We can start with the East. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Eastern Conference, top 3 contenders. I think the obvious one is probably the Celtics. I think they're the favorites at this point of the season for obvious reasons. I think Tatum, Brown, the addition of Drew Holiday, Porzingis has been a catalyst down inside anchoring the paint. So I think that's one. I still okay. Here's where it gets kind of interesting, I would say. Number two for me, I still have to pick the Bucks, but it's not a confident pick, I would say, just because the talent is there. The Dame, Giannis, Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton. You have Jay Crowder, who I like on a championship contending team. Like they have the pieces, but I just don't know what it is that it's just not clicking for them right now. But the talent is there, so I'm just gonna go with talent. You have Giannis; he's a top three player in the league, and Dame as a sidekick is a pretty good tandem. So I'll still pick the Bucks. And oddly enough, I think the third team I'm gonna pick is the Knicks. I think the Knicks are actually dangerous. They're not healthy right now. I think Anunoby's out, Julius Randle is out, but if they come back healthy, they're pretty deep. They might be the deepest team in the Eastern Conference. Like Jalen Brunson has kind of turned into the star of the team, but everybody else, they're nice complementary pieces. Anunoby, they acquired Bogdanovich in the trade deadline. Alec Burks is a scorer who they acquired in the from the trade deadline. So there's a there's a lot of good pieces. I think even DiVincenzo is playing pretty well. So I think the Knicks are a pretty sneaky team. I would not be surprised if maybe not NBA finals, but I could see them easily being in the conference finals, maybe against the Celtics for some reason. I could see that. So I'll go with those three teams in the West, though. The West is really tough because there's so many teams. I guess the first one, I'm gonna go with the Clippers. Sorry, I know you don't like the Clippers, but they look pretty good right now. I'm not gonna judge them off postseason or guys that choke in the postseason, but right now it looks like they've kind of figured out how to play with each other. Kawhi and Paul George leading the way. James Harden has kind of found his role. Russ coming off the bench, right, kind of taking a back seat, um, has really kind of helped this lineup flow together pretty nicely. So I think they're dangerous. I got to put them at one right now. Number two, defending champs. You can never count them out. Denver. I know they lost Bruce Brown, but as long as you have the Joker, you have Jamal Murray healthy, that team's going to be a force to be reckoned with for obvious reasons. Number three, this is a tough one too for me. I'm going to pick the Suns because of their potential. Like they're the fifth seed, but they have the veterans of KD, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, guys who have been in that position, have been in long playoff runs before. So I think they're a team that's just built with firepower. They got three closers, you could say, in a game. That's a tough team to guard in any generation, I think. So if they get it going, it's going to be tough to beat them, honestly. So I got to pick the Suns as my third team. I just can't pick the Timberwolves or the Thunder because of the youth. It's like I don't know. I just can't pick youth until I see it, and I just haven't seen it in the playoffs yet. So that's the only reason why I haven't picked those guys in my top three. But that's my top three in the West: Clippers, Nuggets, Suns. 3, 4, and 5 currently in the seedings.
Okay. Well, let me get to my picks then. So I'll go back and start with the East. Um, Boston, yeah, they've got to be my number one for obvious reasons, like you said. The acquisitions they made this offseason and with how they play, I just think they're the clear-cut favorites in the East. The other caveat with that is they are 26-3 currently at home, and I anticipate them getting the one seed. So to have home court advantage throughout the playoffs, yeah, I think they're easy 3 wins at home against almost any team they play. So I think they just get, maybe one road win. Um, I don't think anyone in the East can really, at this point, show me that they can beat Boston in a best of 7 when they have 4 games at home. So
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing for me with them. I'm gonna stick with kind of similar to you. My second one, it's actually the Knicks. I like the Knicks. I know they had a little bit of a slide, like you said, going into the All Star break, but like you also said, they are pretty banged up right now. OG Ananobi was playing extremely well for them until he got injured. You know, Julius Randle is an all-star this year. He was playing well up until he got injured. They also still don't have Mitch Robinson. Not sure how he's gonna do, but the team has bought into kind of the grit and grime of the old school-ish Knicks vibes. Tom Thibodeau, I think, is a perfect coach to implement that. They got guys like Josh Hart,
I like Josh
DiVincenzo.
Hart.
I think Dante DiVincenzo has stepped up a lot in the scoring department for this team. They also add Bogdanovich, right? Just another asset for them. Like you said, extremely deep team when you look at them on paper. So I
Hmm.
think there's no ego. Like they feel like a team to me, like the most cohesive team, whether it's chemistry wise, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, they were all the Nova guys, right? So um it there I don't feel that ego, that one guy has to be the star. Even Jalen Brunson himself, seems very humble to me. Yeah, he's gonna, you know, take the ball when it counts kind of thing, but he's not gonna go, demand the ball and get all upset if he doesn't get the shot or whatever it is. So that's why I really like this Knicks team, because they do feel the most complete to me, like chemistry wise, even more so than Boston a little bit. There's always something with Boston, and I'm not quite, sure, but it's like the Knicks. Those guys are gonna go to war for each other. That's why I really like the Knicks. And honestly, Matt, I can't believe I'm gonna have to leave out the Bucks with how they are right now, because I think something is a little bit off in the building. Just a weird season overall. They get Dame, yeah, so you add the offensive firepower, but when you fire a coach, after a record like he had, what we said, 31-13, I believe. Now they're kind of on a
Something like that.
skid. Yeah, they're on a skid since Doc has joined. Doc is saying, yeah, this is harder than I thought it was gonna be. Giannis is saying, yeah, well, I mean, I'm on my third or fourth coach in the past how many years? Like, there's frustration clearly leaking out of the building. And I think that's almost a credit, or I mean, it's a testament to what is going on behind closed doors. Because if guys are bought in, especially with veterans like Giannis, Chris Middleton, Dame, even, you're not going to hear those things or let those things leak out in press conferences and stuff. No matter how frustrated you are, if you still believe in like kind of the organization, I don't see any reason for Doc, even Doc, to be airing out like, yeah, this is tough. Oh, it's almost like they're all cushioning, themselves for the eventual collapse in the postseason. Like they're kind of preluding it. Oh no, this is hard. Taking over for a team mid-season is tough. So hey, if we lose in the playoffs, it's not my fault. I just had to come in here. And it's like I don't like that type of vibe, the almost prepping for failure vibe. So I'm not gonna leave the Bucks, which leaves me. I'm gonna rock with the Cleveland Cavaliers because I think um the defense to me, Matt. I mean, with how teams are flying around nowadays, pushing pace. It's all about. But Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, um, and with how they're winning games with Donovan Mitchell, I think this team they're kind of slept on to me. Um, they still have Darius Garland. Max Strus comes in, gives them good minutes as well. Karis LeVert, I know people kind of forget about him, but I think he's a solid piece there. Just how their team is constructed, they might not be as deep, when you look at them on paper, but I think as a starting five, if you even go into 7 or 8 deep. I really like this team. Let Donovan Mitchell be the superstar that he is, and I think the evolution of Evan Mobley's game kind of has helped round out the whole thing because he's not just stuck on the block anymore. So that's why I like Cleveland more so than Milwaukee right now in the East. And so let me get over to the West really quick here. Um, my number one I know they're not ranked the highest right now, but I can't go against Denver, like you said, defending champs. I don't care what they look like in the regular season type of thing. I still think they're gonna finish honestly top three. I think one of the top three teams falls out or Denver just catches them because now it's kind of time for them to lock in. Um, as long as, like you said, you have Jokic, you have Jamal Murray, especially those two are the core guys to me. You still have Aaron Gordon, like you said, and Michael Porter, still a solid player. So Mike Malone, he has the experience now of a championship under his belt, knows how to go through the playoffs, knows how to kind of manage roster and minutes in the playoffs. And I still think Jokic is arguably the best player on the planet. So I'm gonna have to rock with the Nuggets as number one. My number two, Matt. Yeah, this one's getting it. It is tough to kind of narrow these out, but I'm also gonna have to go with the Clippers at two. Do I hope they lose in the playoffs? Of course, right? I don't want to see that. Um, to me, the one thing that can kind of steady the ship of James Harden, oh, known, quote unquote, known playoff choker. Paul George, oh, quote unquote, known playoff choker. It's Kawhi. To me, he is the steady presence, and he's shown he can be the best player on the championship team, you know, on two different organizations. And now, arguably, this is similar to kind of that Raptors team he had. People forget that Raptors team was really good as well. Like the names that they had on that team, really good as well. So Kawhi, I think he becomes the guy. Paul, if it was just a Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook type of thing, yeah, I'm not buying it, honestly. So if Kawhi is healthy and he's in the playoffs, he's that calming presence that you need a bucket, when it's coming down the stretch. I'm sorry, James. I'm sorry, Paul George, but get out of the way. Give it to Kawhi. He's playing like, old Kawhi. And I think that's why I have to put the Clippers in there because two-time champion Kawhi Leonard. Um, third one, yeah, this one's a little bit tough for me, Matt. Um, as much as I like Phoenix, there's just something there to me that is similar to Milwaukee-ish. Um, I I just can't. It's like a weird gut feeling thing, that I can't quite buy into. So my third team, I I don't know if this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I still think it's the Lakers. As like
That's
a
not crazy at
contender.
all, honestly. Like LeBron. It's
Yeah,
LeBron.
okay. Yeah, LeBron is the easy cop out, right? To just say, oh, LeBron. But no, genuinely, this roster, the the Vanderbilt loss is gonna hurt the most, I
Hmm.
think. That's what it's gonna be the most skeptical thing for me. But if AD stays healthy, if LeBron stays healthy, we're seeing the more consistently aggressive AD this year. Like there is no doubt he is an all-star. There's no doubt he's playing up to his potential. And his defense, I think, has been really underrated um, throughout the year. And I think Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui, those guys with the playoff experience last year, for them to all kind of buy in, I really do think this is a dangerous team. Even a little bit more so than Phoenix. That I would put Phoenix third. Like you said, the Timberwolves and the Thunder, yeah, they look great during the regular season, but kind of similar to how Memphis looked last season, right? What a great regular season, but once we saw those playoff matchups come to fruition, we kind of was like, I don't know. I think the Lakers, that's kind of the one that's gonna give Memphis trouble. Sure enough, the experience of LeBron and AD, was able to trump that. So that's why, similar to you, I can't buy into the Timberwolves and Thunder, even though they are having great seasons. So that is my expectations for both sides, Matt. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but we can move on here from the NBA. I think we spent enough time there. Got a couple, other topics we do want to discuss here. So sticking with the UH stuff, and we'll stay on basketball. Why don't you give us our 2 game rundown from this past week?
Yeah, well, tough road stretch. Anytime UH goes on the road, it's a different team than playing at home, if you put it that way. But luckily for them, they did play Cal Poly on Thursday on the road. They are winless in conference. Thank goodness that's still the case because UH did not blow that game. They actually won by 29, which was a actually shock, honestly, because it's UH. But they did win. Justin McCoy stayed hot. He was Big West Player of the Week previously, so he had 18 that day. Juan Munoz had a good shooting day. He had 20 points. Really balanced, I would say, offensive attack, honestly, and they did what they're supposed to do. Right, you're playing an inferior team. Don't let them hang around. They put them away early, and they had a 15-point lead at the half. And a lot of times, you might be able to take your foot off the gas a little bit, but no, they stayed pedal to the metal, won the second half by 14. So it was a good, strong showing. And hey, a win is a win on the road. Unfortunately, kind of a different story on Saturday. They did play the defending champs in Santa Barbara on the road, and they had them. They really did. They lost by 6, but they entered the half. They were up 9. So kind of the same narrative. They had the lead and they just came out flat. Honestly, Santa Barbara. I mean, they held AJ Mitchell, their guy, pretty much in check, but he kind of finished the game with 23 points. So he kind of really broke out in that second half. Josh Pierre Lewis, kind of like the Robin, you could say, to AJ. He had another solid game. So yeah, just really disappointing that they just didn't finish the game. And even when the game was close, I think they still were up 1 with about like 4 minutes left. Like that's your time to really see the grit and the determination of this team, and just couldn't gut it out, honestly. They didn't get the stops when they need to, and it just seems like UH goes cold at like the worst possible time, honestly. Like when you need a bucket, they just can't get it sometimes. So not gonna lie, I didn't expect them to win this game. Thank goodness they got a split on the road. That's always a good thing, honestly, I think. But I think right now they're comfortably in the tournament, which is good, but they still have some things to work out. But I think the one thing that Ganat should continue to stick with is I think he did find his starting lineup for the rest of the season with Juan Munoz, Noel Coleman, Ryan Rapp, Justin McCoy, Bernardo da Silva. That's your 5. Do not change that lineup for the rest of the season. I don't care what the lineup looks like with Javon comes back. He's going to play, but I just think let this 5, develop some kind of chemistry. They're playing pretty well, I would say, for the most part. Um, so yeah, I like this. Keep that 5. Whoever comes off the bench, so be it. But Cody Williams, I think, needs to continue to play. He's been playing pretty well. Tom B has had a nice stretch as well. So guys are stepping up slowly, but obviously the big question is once Javon, if he comes back, I don't know when that timetable is, but they're going to have to tinker the rotation. But I just don't want them to mess with that starting 5. and they got to keep Cody Williams in the rotation because he's taking Javon's minutes. So somehow Gannett is going to have to manufacture around that, but you worry about that when the time comes. And they luckily they have a week to kind of rest, prepare for Long Beach at home on Saturday. But yeah, 1-on-1 on the road, kind of what I expected to be honest for UH basketball.
Hey, we'll take a 1-on-1 split, Matt, anytime, especially this season on the road. But
It's
yeah,
just they're not good at home. Like you split on the road, that's great, but you have to be able to be dominant at home, and they're not dominant at home, and they're not good on the road. So it's like that's the perfect balance of a 500 team.
we just need to get into the tournament, and because it doesn't matter. They could be the 3 seed. We've seen it. Doesn't matter. You get in, you get the chance to prove yourself. To me, that's all that matters. So
That's
they get
true.
in. I don't care what rank they are. To if you want to make it anyway, you're gonna have to win. What is it, 3 in a row anyway? So it doesn't really matter to me. As long as they figure it out for that stretch of games. Um, but sticking on UH, Matt, we have our season opener for baseball. We hosted a 4 game series against Ole Miss at the less. Came out 2-2. I think I was a little bit surprised. I thought Ole
Mm-hmm.
Miss though was gonna be a little bit better. I heard they weren't the sharpest, I think. Um, but hey, anytime you can split with a team, with a name like Ole Miss, gotta inject a lot of confidence. Especially, you go down, 0-2 in the series and then come back and really stomp Ole Miss in the final 2 games. Gotta feel good for UH to start their season. So yeah, Matt, why don't you I don't know if you were able to did you watch any of the games or were you following any of the
I
games?
was watching the Friday game, just bits and pieces of it. I did see the last, or I saw the eighth and the ninth, and then it went to extras, and then that game was like 13 innings. So kind of gave up on that one. But yeah, outside of that, I haven't really watched the game, but I've kind of seen, the box scores here and there. Um, I do like how I would say I guess the offense is playing, I think kind of surprised me, right? The first game, first game jitters, kind of let that go. But hey, the games that they won, right? The second half of the doubleheader and then Sunday's game, they scored 13 runs, and then you follow that up with nine. Like that's some good offense right there. But from what I was watching, at least in the first game, the opening game, this team is really like they're playing small ball to win games. That's how they're gonna win those close games. I mean, I think they had 3 bunts in a row, like in the eighth inning when they ended up taking the lead initially, like just putting pressure on the Ole Miss defense, and they weren't making the plays. So Rich Hill just said, "Okay, you're not going to field the bunts properly, then we're going to keep laying it down." And sure enough, right, they get to third, they get a run into third, and then pitcher spikes it in the ground. UH takes the lead on a wild pitch. So I think that's kind of be how this team is built, and a lot of guys are local, which is good for the fan base. I think it's easier to cheer for. Not that we don't like guys coming in from the mainland, but you know, anytime you get to cheer for your own homegrown kid, you could say, makes it a little sweeter, I think. And there's a lot of guys in the starting lineup, local boys. I mean, they got the Sukata boy from, well, he's a Punahou grad, but he actually played for UP, this past few years. So he's kind of, entrenched himself into the lineup. Um, Matt Miura has solidified center field. Marina boy. They got Elijah. I think his name's Ikes. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so sorry about that. But shortstop, he's kind of pushing Jordan Donahue, honestly. So that I think there's some kind of, there's that's not a locked position. So it'll be interesting, I think. But it's great that these local boys are really showing out. Kyson Donahue, a true, you could say, power hitter for this team, at least. He homered, I think, in this series. So Yeah, I think so far good start, but I think next week is going to be tough because they play NC State. And from what I heard, I think they're 16th ranked, nationally ranked. So that's going to be a good test. ACC, SEC games out of the bat it's a good test for conference, I think. And I think they're projected to finish third or fourth in the Big West, which is not bad, honestly, because the Big West is pretty good at baseball. So I think Rich Hill has these guys trending in the right direction, honestly. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the season plays out.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. That was gonna be my state of the 808 anyway. So talk about the UH boys. Yeah, hopefully they put on a good showing next week. But yeah, sticking with baseball, Matt. Spring training kicking off pretty soon here. Pitchers and starters reported to camp. Still no Blake Snell signing. I think there are still couple signings out there, right? That we're still kind of waiting on. Um, but
Yeah.
at least for my Dodgers, we're looking not bad. And um, yeah, pitchers and catchers reporting. Blake Snell, though, what is the rumors about him? I actually don't even know.
Well, rumor wise, it's the Yankees. Like I think they're the betting favorites to actually land Blake Snell. So what I'm hearing is it's the Yankees, the Angels, and the Giants. I think that's the three teams that I really heard that are, I guess, interested in Blake Snell. From what I heard, the Yankees are still the only team that has offered him a contract. So I don't know what the market is. I think the Yankees want a short-term deal, which is exactly what I said in the first place. I don't want Blake Snell for, a ridiculously long contract, but if it's a short-term deal with a higher AAV, I can live with that. If he doesn't make it, oh well, at least you get off that contract faster. But I can imagine, honestly, I'm a sucker for media. I'm a Yankees fan. I expect great things, but I can't imagine having two Cy Young winners from the previous season on your in your rotation. Like what? I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't even know if that's ever been done in MLB history. But that would be honestly an A plus offseason if the Yankees somehow land Blake Snell. I mean, he would solidify the rotation, clear cut number two, less pressure on Carlos Rodon, but from what I'm hearing, he's doing a lot better. I think he's coming to camp in shape. I think last season he was throwing maybe 92 when he first started throwing. He's at nine. I heard he's topping at 97, 98 right now, which is a good sign to see from Carlos Rodon. So this team is I'm starting to buy in, and that's what scares me because I know they're gonna like break my heart at the end, which is what all my teams do for some reason. But yeah, I think Blake Snell, it sounds like it's gonna be a Yankee. Crossing my fingers. I do think he's gonna sign like sometime this week because the pitchers and catchers already reported earlier, and then I think the players, at least for the Yankees, the players are there now. So I think even the Dodgers, right? Shohei's there. He's smacking home runs in live VP, right? So I think it's gonna be time where we start to see everybody sign. I think even Bellinger, right? Bellinger hasn't signed yet, right?
Yeah, still waiting on him.
Yeah, so it should be coming around the corner, I think, with these final free agent signings. But Blake Snell, man, come on, 3-year deal, $100 million. That's perfect right there. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and then I guess last quick topic here that I wanted to get to. I guess there was a UFC, pretty big one. It's not the big one, that's coming later in April, but Volkanovski did fight this weekend and got knocked out by Ilya Topuria. Um, and this guy, man, he's a Spaniard. He's filthy. Like I've never seen, and I don't know if this is more so on Alex Volkanovski not quite looking right after the Islam fight, but I've never seen Volk look like that. hesitant, almost retreating, um, just not quite sharp either. Usually he's bigger and a little bit quicker than the other 145 featherweights, but he looks slower than Topuria. Topuria was pushing the pace and just caught him one time, and it was a clean power shot. Ilya, he's dangerous, man. I don't know if anyone can really handle him in the division, but I will say the one caveat is maybe, and maybe this is a maybe, it opens up the path for Max to get back in the 145 championship contention. Um, he does have a fight with Justin Gaethje coming up, like we talked about, at 55. And I don't know if he's gonna win because I think he struggled that last time when he moved up against Dustin, although he came on late. I don't know, just one of the hardest hitters. I think it's just gonna be a slugfest. We'll see how Max's chin holds up, but I think he's gonna need a decently long rest after that fight with Justin Gaethje, before he gets into thinking about the 145, um, you know, featherweight contention again. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if Dana's gonna give Volk a rematch with Topuria just because I don't know, Volk kind of is on a little bit of a slump right now. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But yeah, I don't know exactly what's the plan. All I know is Topuria is dangerous, and outside of Volk and Max, I really don't know who can hold a candle to him at 145, like as it currently stands. Maybe the talks of Aljamain Sterling because he's moved up, but um, yeah, striking wise, I don't know if anyone is going to be able to stand toe to toe with him if he can put out Volk like that. So we'll see. Yeah, but crazy. I was shocked. I was shocked.
I think everybody was shocked.
Yeah,
At least the betters were.
yeah, definitely shocked. So why don't we wrap it up here, Matt? With our typical segments. So who is our foolish fool of the week?
Mm. So I actually I'm gonna go with two this week, just because of what I saw in sports this week. So I'll go first one. I gotta go with the college baseball one, but Loyola Marymount, I'm gonna go with their pitching staff because it was the first day of the college season, and uh, they played Sacramento State over the weekend, and Matt Massingello on Sac State, he got beaten 7 times in one day. I've never seen that.
What?
It was a double header, but the fact that you've got beaten 7 times in a day is absurd. So I don't know if those guys were out to get him. Like, how do you bean someone 7 times? I don't understand. So come on, pitchers, those strikes. Come on. So that's my one. Number two, we already touched on it earlier in one of our earlier segments, but Jaylen Brown, NBA dunk contest, man. What are you doing jumping over a 5'3" guy sitting in a chair? Like we went
That's the
from Blake,
part that gets me. He was sitting in
we
a chair.
we went from Blake Griffin jumping over a car to guys, even Matt McClung jumping over Shaq, right? Or who was it that jumped over Taco Fall? Was it Aaron Gordon?
Yeah, I don't
Over Taco
remember.
Fall. Somebody jumped
Right.
over Taco Fall. I think it was Aaron Gordon. And then you jump over a 5'3" dude sitting down. What the heck? Like, no, I would have gave you a 0 on that dunk, honestly, because there wasn't even anything creative. You just jumped over him. Like, big deal. Like, you're dunking over guys in the NBA games that are taller than that. So, what makes that so special in a dunk contest? So, Jaylen Brown, sorry, you're the foolish fool of the week. By the way, you also lost to UH in the NCAA tournament in college. Just gonna point that out there. So that's my two foolish fools of the week this week.
Okay. Sounds good. Since like I said, kind of already touched on the state of the 808, I will just shout out Dan Ige who won. He's a UFC fighter as well, in the featherweight division. He had a knockout in the his fight that he headlined. That was a couple weeks ago now, maybe. But shout out to him. So that's my quick one. Why don't you get to our sports fact of the day?
All right. We're recording on February 19th. I'll go back to 1965. That's when the NFL added a sixth official, also known as the line judge. And I don't know, maybe in the near future, there might be about 10 referees on the field because of all the missed calls that are happening in the game. But way back when, we had a line judge added in the game of American football. But I don't know, at this point in the NFL, maybe there's going to be like 20 refs just on each. Maybe you have 99, just have a ref on each hash. Like, honestly. I don't know. They're missing so many calls. You got to add more guys to see what's going on the field. But yep, that's our sports fact of the day this week.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, let's keep it nice and short here. Um, we'll wrap up this week's segment. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next week to talk more basketball. So have a good week. Stay safe. I'll see you guys later.